Azure AD contains conditional access for all users as a baseline policy. It's highlighted here. It's the end user protection, at the moment preview baseline policy. We can see by default it's not enabled. And that's true for all the other baseline policies. Baseline policy for legacy to block legacy authentication, baseline policy for service management, and an older, it's been around maybe almost a year now, require MFA for admins. We're specifically interested in this video series of looking at the end user impact of MFA, and so we're going to have a look at baseline policy end user protection preview. So let's look at this setting and turn it on. So we click on the option. It tells us that it will do all users. I can't say when, where, how, why, okay? But it will do it when there's a risky sign-in attempt. Microsoft determine what is a risky sign-in attempt. Once I enable the policy, it's going to affect all users immediately. Okay? And the user is going to have to register for MFA if they haven't registered already. To avoid the impact of that being an immediate thing that happens, this process, like Azure AD Identity Protection, includes a 14-day registration window, so they can defer registration for MFA until that point. Okay, so let us go and first of all sign in with a user where this is not enabled and see what happens, and then we'll come back, enable it, and sign in as the same user. So here we have a new signed in browser. It's an in private session, so it's completely not signed in by anybody already. I'm going to sign in as Jordan for my trial tenant. I'm going to enter the password that goes with that user. And it asks me, do I want to say signed in? I'm going to say yes. And there we go, straight in. I have no MFA requirements. All that was needed to get in was the username and the password. So let me just sign out from that user. And while that signs out, I'm going to pop over to my admin page we were at earlier, and we can see that I've got my 14 days setting mentioned there, but the policy is disabled. So it's the baseline policy end user protection. I'm going to turn that on, click save, and later I'll turn on the other ones as well, but I'll just have one on for now. Okay. I've got my conditional access one from earlier videos in this series, MFA sales team. Jordan is not a member of that group, and so this policy does not apply to them. I can't use what if because the scenario that this generally tends to apply to is users that don't have Azure AD P1 licenses, and what if it is only an Azure AD P1 license feature. Okay. So got the end user protection preview enabled. We're signed in, we're signed out. Let's sign in again as Jordan back in the in private browser window that I'm using for Jordan. So we sign in. It asks for the password. Okay, and it says more information required. So because I've turned on baseline setting for users, I have the ability to skip now, 14 days until it's required, and I get signed in. Let me just sign back out as the user. Let's say a number of days have gone by. Let that sign out and let's sign in. And let's say the first time I wasn't really in a position to register, I wasn't ready to do that, but I sign in again on maybe another device or a different time, and rather than saying skip now and a lesser number of days required, or the 14 days have all gone by and I have to register, okay, I'm going to click next. I'm going to do my registration. And we see in this example, Jordan is not a member of the group that I use to give the new registration wizard to. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my settings, Azure AD, user settings, preview features, and I'm going to turn on the new registration wizard for all users. Okay, given that I've got conditional access baseline policy that affects all users, and I've enabled that, I would want to enable the preview features for all users as well. So they get the new registration wizard. So Jordan, username, password. Not going to skip the trial. And we get the old verification wizard. It doesn't seem to matter that I've enabled the new wizard for everybody, I'm always going to get the old wizard when I use the baseline preview policy. I hope that changes because the old registration wizard is not brilliant. Back as an admin, though, I also have available to me in conditional access baseline policy for admins, legacy auth, and MFA. I should have these enabled. Okay? All my admins should be doing MFA all the time. Okay? And this rule is automatic for anybody who's an admin. I don't have to remember to set the policy for the admin. The policy is set for the admin automatically. If you become an admin, you have MFA. If you stop being an admin, you fall out of this policy. Block legacy authentication, often used to get bypassed authentication that requires MFA, is older protocols that don't support MFA, IMAP, POP, SMTP, and so on. Okay? If I have clients that all support it, I can very easily block legacy authentication by one check. I can move from off to on, click save, there we go, legacy authentication blocked. Okay? And then require MFA for service management, then this is things that rely on the Azure Resource Manager API, and so MFA required for those. I don't have any of those in my particular demo, so I'm not going to turn that one on. So that's the various different options in the various different videos that show the impact of the different conditional access options with regards to the impact on the user for turning on MFA or forced MFA or risk-based MFA, and what the registration looks like for the user.